So in the last session, we have created a business object method. So we have created a business object. Inside this, I have created a method display order with one parameter as an import parameter sales document number. And inside the method, select the method and go to program. Inside the method, I wrote a logic where the first statement swc underscore get underscore element from the container means I'm fetching the import parameter of the method. By using the sales document number, I am calling a VA03 screen. So this is the simple method I have implemented in the business object. This is the one thing I did, and extra what I did is I created a sales order created event, and we have one key field defined. So these are the three things we have defined inside a business object. Okay, so this is the first step we did, and the second step is we have created a standard task. We go to standard task and we have created JWF star F4. Okay, so I created a standard task where I have mapped the business object method to this task. Here also I created a variable called sales document. So container element, generally will not call here variables, we'll call as container elements. So I created a container element sales document, and I am passing this sales document to my business object method by using binding. So here I map my task container element sales document to the import parameter of the method sales document. Okay, so just I did the binding from task to method. So I am passing sales document number from my standard task to my business object method. Okay, so this is the second step we did inside standard task. Next, when we come to workflow task, after creating the standard task, we need to create workflow task. So first we created a workflow template, and inside the workflow template we have created, I hope, order, yeah, JWF order. So in this case we have did one extra step called triggering events. This triggering event is like a configuration where we are mapping a business object event to the workflow. That means here we are telling the system when to start this workflow. This is the triggering event. So that means this is the event which is going to trigger this workflow template. So whenever this business object event is created, this workflow will start. And also this will be called only when if you activate this one. If you did activation, then only this linkage will be active and the workflow will be triggered. And also here we did one more thing called binding. This binding is from event to workflow. So whoever is triggering the workflow, I am taking event creator. Suppose I am creating a sales order. By the time inside ABAP code, we are triggering a business object event. So there the event creator is whoever is saving the sales document, who is the event creator of the business object. So that person ID I am passing to workflow initiator. That means the same person is starting the workflow also. So I am updating the container element of workflow, the WF initiator. I am mapping these two, and also we have defined a key in a business object, right? So that is the sales document number. So that also I am passing here. So I map these two. Okay. So the next step. So just I did the binding between business object event to workflow template. Also here we have created a container element. So this is SAP. If you look at this one, this container is a workflow template. So this is a container element of workflow container. Okay, so here also I created a sales document and I mapped the key of the business object to this sales document. So now till this, just we have configured the basic settings for activating the workflow to the business object, but we didn't created any workflow template. So now today's class, I'm going to create a workflow template and I'm going to trigger the workflow in different ways. Okay, so I will show you how we can test this one. Okay, so till now it's clear, or do you have any doubts in this part till now which we discussed? So after completing this whole session, you will understand the flow of the data from your order to your workflow and business object. So after completing everything, again I will show you the flow, how the data is flowing from one place to the another place. Create now the workflow template. Here this is the place where we are going to build the workflow template. So click on this workflow builder. Okay. See, this is the graph where this is actually the workflow template looks like. Also, you can, by seeing this, you can feel like it's like a flow chart. So also, if you look at the left hand side, here we have different steps. Okay, so here we have activity, web activity, send mail, user decision, conditions, event creator, wait, container operations. Okay, so we'll use these steps one by one. Okay, and you can understand what is the purpose of each activity, each step. As per our requirement, we need to know which step we need to include in our template. Okay, so in our current scenario, I am taking this step into our workflow template. Okay, so here the white color symbol is there, right? That means this is undefined step. So we want to we are going to define the step. Okay, so just right click here and create. So I'm going to create a step. Now here it is asking for which step you want to, what is the type of the step you want to include. So now here I am going to include activity. See, after this it is asking some information about the activity. Okay, so we'll go in detail about this activity now. So in the activity, if you look at here, it is asking for task. What is the action for this activity? So this task we have already defined in PFTC as a standard task. So I'm going to give that task here. Okay. Next, we will go to these additional things like latest start, latest and request start. These are the deadline monitoring tabs. Okay, so this we will see when we go for the monitoring the work items. Okay, in this current example, we'll look for, and also we have outcomes. This also will come when we are going to use the other steps like fork we have and user decision. In that case also we can go for the outcomes. We'll see later. Now in the current example, I am going to give the task. Here the task you can copy from there, or here you can go for F4 help, because you cannot remember that number, right? So directly you can identify by using here the F4 help. So here you can give the business object number and the method. Method is display order. If you give these two and if you click find, it will give you the tasks which are assigned with this business object method. So I got the task number and double click. So this is the task. When I click enter, system will ask for the binding. Default it will generate based on the type matching. I will show you. Just I am pressing enter here. So look at here. So system is generated based on the type. You can keep as it is. If you want, you can remove also. You can say I don't want, and you can do yourself also. Okay, I'm closing this one, and if I want to do binding, now we can give whatever we want and whatever we want to bind to task. Okay, in the task what I have defined a sales document as a container element. If you look at here, so this is the workflow container where I have defined an additional container element at workflow level. This is the container elements of my task step. Okay, so now here I am mapping the sales document of workflow to task. Okay, so this is the second time we are doing the binding from workflow container to the task container. We already did from task container to business object method in the standard task. So the sales document will flow from here to task and again from task to method where we wrote the actual logic to display the sales order. Okay, so now I'm clicking OK. So this is workflow to step. Some cases if you want you can pass from step to workflow also. So this we will see when we go for a detailed level. Okay, so now I did the binding also. So now the important thing is agent. What is meant by agents? Agent is nothing but the person who want to execute, to whom we want to send this work item. Okay, suppose if you take a purchase order approval, so you have to send the work item to the approver, whoever is the responsible for approving, to whom we have to him here we have to send the work item. So he is the actual agent who is going to take the action on the your work item. But in my example, what I am going to do, whoever is created the sales order, to that person I am going to send this work item. So now here to identify these agents, we have a different options to send. Now I'm going to send the work item to the same person who is triggered this event actually. In that case, I'm going to take the same expression. Okay, so here I can give, to take F4, here it is showing what are the things available. If you look at here, we have a workflow initiator to whom we want to send. So this is the container of the workflow. So like this, you can define any variable and you can assign approver to that variable, and that person you can use here. So here I am taking workflow initiator. So this here I am taking agent type as expression and I am giving a variable where in this variable actually it will have the ID of the workflow trigger person. Suppose I am using ECC user 48. So that ID will come to initiator and the work item will go to this person as an agent. I can give as a like this, or here you have one more option, see, like workflow initiator expression. This also will do the same thing. Okay, so this is the two things. Next we will see. Suppose if I want to give user, I have to forcefully write here. Oh, sorry, task. Here I have to write ECC USR 48. So here you mentioned user means you have to pass user. If I mentioned expression means it should be a variable. I don't want binding. So here expression means I need to pass a. Okay, so we have done our part. We mentioned what is the action to be done and to whom this work item should go. Okay, and we did the binding. Okay, so till this part everything is done and I am clicking OK. Then it will come to this one. So whenever the event is triggered through business object, and then it will go to this action and it will go to the user inbox, and there if we take the action, workflow will be finished. Okay, so now I have done my workflow template part, and now I am going to activate it successfully. And one more step we have to do is here we have to release the status. So implemented and released. Okay, so now I have done my workflow template part. Now how to trigger this workflow? Okay, so when we have to trigger this workflow, when we are creating a sales order. Okay, so mainly we have to write the code in while saving the sales order. Okay, so here we have two options. One is two cases. One is standard business object, custom business object. Okay, suppose here if I map my workflow to a standard business object, okay, so then I no need to trigger the business object event externally from a program, because in the standard code it is already written to trigger the event. Okay, because the standard business objects already they took the action and they wrote the code somewhere in the standard code. But if I use a custom business object mapped to my workflow template, in that case it is my responsibility to trigger the business object. So what I have to do? I have to trigger my business object event in the standard transaction by using either user exits or baddies or by using access key, anything. While saving the document, you need to externally call this business object event if it is a custom business object. Okay, so now we have defined a custom business object, so I have to trigger this business object event externally from program. So what are the options we can do? For testing purpose, we have a transaction called SWUE. This is the T code where we can trigger business object events. Second thing is suppose we are using sales order, right? In sales order user exit, like user exit underscore save document will have, right? So there I need to call create. I need to call this function module so that it will trigger the event. Okay, so two cases we have. Let me try with SWUE. Okay, so now SWUE. So create a event. I'm going to raise an event for this business object, and which event? Created event. Okay, so here we have to trigger for one particular sales order, right? So we have to pass the key. So that key we can give externally here, like 54. Suppose any sales order we can take. Okay, we have one sales order here. So this is the sales order we have. So I am giving 5455 as order number here as a key field while raising the event. 5455. Okay. So I've given the key and I've given the event to be raised and the business object and create event. It is saying event created, at least one receiver found. Okay, so I want to see the workflow. So workflow started system is saying I don't know the workflow. So what I can do is I can go to transaction SWI1. Okay, so the transaction code is SWI1 T code for displaying work items. Also we can see the logs also here. Okay, for the workflow I'll show you now. So today is the date, so I want to see the work items which are created with the today's date. Look at here, this is the workflow which is created. System will generate a separate ID for instance. Okay, so the workflow instance. Okay, and this is the task which is created. And also if you look at here, the display sales order text also it is concatenated with the sales order. This we did while defining the work item text. Okay, so it is started and it is saying it is ready. Okay, so next time I will show you how to see the logs. This is the place where we can see the log. Okay, I'll show you how the log looks like. See, here it is saying this task, it is ready at this agent. If you look at agent, if you click this agents, it will show you where the work item is waiting. So now the work item is waiting at ECC user 48. So from the log you can see this person is waiting for approval if it is a decision related work item. Okay, for this workflow now the task is waiting at this particular agent. Okay, so now go back. Now this is the called log where you can see logs about a particular workflow. So the workflow got triggered. So the work item should be available in my inbox. So the transaction for code for my inbox is SAP Business Workplace is SBWP. Okay, SAP Business Workplace, or you can trigger this one. Okay, so this is our user inbox. I hope you are aware of this box workflows. See, now this is the work item pending at my place. Okay, so now when I double click this one, what will happen? It will display my sales order. Okay, so here before displaying I also want to show, if I want to debug this case, this foreground task, I can directly debug. How I can debug? I know the business object method. What I will do is SWO1. I'll go to method display order program, and here I'll put cursor here and put this breakpoint. Okay. Now I'll go to business workplace and go to inbox workflow, and I'm double clicking this one. Now it should open sales order. So double click. Look at here. Now the debugger is started. Okay. So this is the only simple way we can do only for dialog work items, dialog task. I will show you where we can see. Now, if you look at here, now it will call the sales order and it will open. I'm pressing F8. Now it will open sales order. Immediately after going back, what will happen? Work item was disappeared from my inbox. Also, if you look at workflow also, now if we go to workflow log, SWI1, if you look at, everything is completed. Also, if you look at log, only one task that is completed and your workflow also completed. And see here, this is the graphical workflow log. How we saw in the workflow definition, in the same way here we can see the graphical flow of workflow. So the event got triggered, it executed the work item, and workflow got finished. Okay. And also I told, right, so we are able to debug. One second, I'll show you where we can see if it is a standard task. Sorry. See, why I am able to debug directly means because if it is a object method with dialog, only in this case only, if the task is of this type only, we can directly put the breakpoint in business object method, and you can directly, when you execute from the business workplace, the breakpoint will stop and you can do the analysis. But in some cases, we will have a background processing. Background processing means the workflow, once it is started, it will execute. It will not wait for user action, so you cannot directly debug. Okay, so how to take care of those, I will tell you in the next steps when we look for the background processing. Okay, so now we have triggered this event via which one? SWUE, right? Now let me try to trigger via some custom transaction. So I will create a custom code, okay, and will trigger the event. Even in the standard also, you have to do the same steps that I am doing via, because I have to do via, if it is a standard, again I have to create sales order and everything I need to do. So that's why I am doing directly through some transaction. Okay. Okay, save. Okay, so I had to give sales order number in the selection screen. Next, I have to trigger the event. So I have to call function SWE underscore event underscore. Actually, there are different function modules we can use as per the requirement. So anything is just we have to trigger the event. Okay. So here, if you look at here, object type, object key, event. So just we need to pass these three and system will generate the event. It will raise the event and workflow will start. So here our object type is ZWF underscore demo 01. Event is let me try because I am not sure whether we have to give capital or the same case sensitive is there or not. And also we need to give object key. LV underscore obj key. LV underscore obj key equal to p underscore vbln. So here LV underscore obj should be type matched. So I have to, sorry, not parameters. LV underscore obj key. So this should be of type. It should match with this function module interface. So here the import parameter obj k. Okay, just activate. And when I run this one, so I am giving 5455 and F8. Okay, it's executed, and let me see work items are generated or not, or we can go and see. Okay, so here it's not generated. Let me try give the capital letters. It's the same thing created, right? Let me see in business object. Created. Let me try now. You take 5, 4, 5, 6 is there. Okay. SP WFP. Still it's not generated. Event ID receiver. Okay, let me put breakpoint. See here the event creator, if we don't pass, by default it is taking with our ID. So whoever is going to create, this is with their ID. Set request to event manager, raise event. Set event ID. Handlers out there. So it is saying raised. So we need to see latest ones. It is completed. I think the event got not triggered, but I'll check this one and I'll tell you tomorrow. I think some cases only first time only it will trigger. So might be this is the reason for that it's not triggered. That I will check. Okay. So, but this is the procedure where we can trigger the events. How the data is flowing in this example which we saw. So now what we are doing, we are triggering the business object event in the program when we are saving the sales order, and we are passing here obj key. And also in the configuration of the workflow, in the triggering events, we have mapped this business object event to workflow, where here SW I1, sorry, PFTC workflow template. So WF for the, so here I map the triggered business object event, and that I binded to here the creator to initiator, and the object key which I am passing the sales document from there in the business object to I am passing to my workflow container. Now my workflow will have the sales document number at workflow container level here. So after binding, so the data will pass from your business object key to your workflow container element sales document. After that, the workflow will start and it will go to first step in the workflow. So in this task, I have passed this sales document number from my workflow to this step. So I'm passing from my workflow to step. The step is nothing but here we have assigned a standard task. Inside the standard task container also I have defined a sales document. So I am mapping my sales doc workflow container element sales document to my standard task container element sales document. Okay. So the sales document from workflow container is passed to, if we go to here, that will come to this part. Okay. So from here again I am moving this container sales document to where here I did the binding. So here I mapped the container element of this task to method. I have defined an import parameter for the method. So I moved the sales document from task to again to method. Inside the method, based on the sales document number, I executed a display of a sales document number. Okay. So this is the flow which is happened from creation of the sales order till the workflow finished. In the standard task, I mapped from task container to method, right? In the next steps, I will show you from my method, I will move to workflow also. The only thing is you need to understand this from where to where the mapping is happened between the container elements. Okay. In the workflow log also we can see these values. I will show you when we are deeply when we go to how to analyze the workflow log, because this workflow log is very important because once the workflow starts and now it will keep on execute and you don't have the track of the information. If you go and see in the workflow log, there you have all these container elements on what is the data available, how this is mapped and all we have to check in the workflow log. When we build a little more complex workflow than this one, then we will go to the workflow log and analyze how the data is and how we can check in the workflow log. Okay. So now again I'm going to business object. Okay. So now I wrote this swc underscore get underscore element, right? So as I told, this is a macro, but the macro should be written in the code, right? Then only it will execute. So that is the reason whenever a program got generated when you are creating a business object, system by default will include some standard include object. Okay, so inside this all the required macros are already predefined. See, now I'm using swc get element, right? Now I can write another macro swc underscore set underscore element. That means I'm going to set an element to container and that element ID is, suppose order type I want to set, or the sales order creation anyhow we will have workflow initiator. Suppose take order data, suppose order date. So I can write one select statement and get the sales document number I have. Sales document number I have. So I can write a select and I can get the order date and LV underscore date. Okay. So here what is this order date, where I need to define this one? I need to define this one as an import parameter here. See, in the method I have defined this one as an import. So I have to define the order date as export parameter in the same method, so that I can set that variable by using this macro. So in this way I can import and I can export to the business object method by using these macros. Okay, so is it clear, this part? Available, if you look at here, there is a standard include which is defined. Go to objects, and also there are a lot of includes. We have to see in one of these includes it will be there. So here also it's like getting the one. So it is not inside this object. And again, if we go to, there is some other includes. See here, this is written here. Okay, so we are passing the container to the parameter first one, which element we want to get, that we are passing, and we are retrieving to a particular field we are importing. So that is this field, parameter 3. Okay, so this is the macros which they have defined in the standard, and so by default whenever we create a program to the business object, this will be included already by default to our business object event. Okay, so this is the one thing we need to remember in the business object method. And another thing, okay, so this is the one thing to write import and export in a business object. Now if I want to raise any exceptions, errors, so we can define an exception. Suppose I am going to write create, so go to create, and here I am going to define an exception 900. Okay, so here we have a temporary error or application error or system error. If you mention temporary error, if you look at F1, see, this error only will rise whenever the system resources are not available. System resource means if the work process or anything is not available, in that case you need to select this option. But what we are writing, if I am writing the exception based on my code, so it's a application error. So I am defining this 9000 as an application error, and inside my method based on some condition I can raise this exception. Okay, and you can give any standard message ID and message number here, like suppose take any, so 91. Suppose I want to pass 000002. Okay, 00002. So I am creating an exception with this message ID and message number. It's not valid. I think there are some limitations here for giving a, and for each method exceptions or error status to which the system. Actually, from 9000 to 9009 defined for standard, I hope. So I'm giving a number 9100. Okay, so it's accepted. So now I created an exception for my method. So now what I have to do, I have to trigger this exception. Go to program. Suppose what I can do, if I write a select statement and if it is success, I will display. Else we have to call exit underscore return. This is also a macro, and we have to pass 91 which exception. Suppose I might have 4 to 5 exceptions defined in my method exceptions. So based on the conditions, which exception I want to define, that I have to call this one. Sometimes we can define that message ID and message number which I defined might have some parameters. So you can pass the parameters also here. If you look at this exit underscore return, I'll show you. Without two actual parameters. So here we need to pass two parameters. Look at the exit return, what we need to pass. I think we need to pass the type of the error also, error or warning. Okay. So here is the macro defined. See, here we need to pass parameter 1. Here the code, message code, exception code we need to pass. And here it is asking the variables also. But this is not mandatory. Let me try. Okay. It is asking all 4 parameters. Okay, so it's saying all the 5 parameters are mandatory. Okay, so but we didn't use any variables inside my error code, error ID. So we can pass all 4 as empty. Okay. See, these four are nothing but the exception. I will go to here. I used a method, right? See, this message ID and message number, if suppose if I have parameters in the message text like 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters. So it's saying it's mandatory. I need to pass. Okay. So what are the message using? If suppose I'm saying invalid sales document number is my message, and at the end I want to display sales document number. So the respect to message ID you need to use, and the value also you need to pass to this exit here in the code. You have to pass those parameters here so that your message will be proper while displaying. Okay, so is it clear? So just just here I am telling how to raise the exception. Okay, so this is very important because if we don't handle the exceptions properly, your workflow will be in errors. Generally, the workflow error handling is different, and we need to handle all the errors very carefully. Otherwise, your workflow instance will be error, and it will be more work to the workflow monitoring team. Okay, so if there is any error, the workflow should not go to error mode. Okay, it should be handled properly and it should notify someone to take the actions. But workflow should not, if we don't handle properly, I will tell you this workflow handling when we go further. Okay, once we go to background tasks and all, when we go to complex case, I will also show you how to handle the errors. Okay, so just to remember how to raise the exceptions inside the business object, how to get the container elements, and how to set the container elements in a business object. So if you know this part, we have done with the business object almost. Okay, so business object is nothing but it doesn't have any separate thing. We'll have methods and we need to write actual business logic inside your methods. Okay, and we need to get the container elements set and raise the exceptions. Okay, so that is from business object. So now tomorrow what we will do is we will extend the same application, okay, in different way. EFTC. Okay, so in tomorrow case what we will do is, here I have defined a single step. Alright, so tomorrow we will try to use some more steps. When our sales order got created, I want to know what is the order type. Okay, if it is a one order type, I will go to initiator for approval. If the order type is other, I want to send my work item to another person. Like I have another user, so I want to send my work item to another user. Okay, so we will do the same thing with some little more steps, and we will go for creation of background task, and we will see how the workflow log looks like. I will create a method, because first I want to know what is the type of the sales order, right? So I will do a method I will write inside the business object. Okay, and inside the method I will get the sales document number, and I will get the order type from in my background task, and I will send the order to the again to the workflow. So to the workflow I will get the order type, and based on the order type I will use a condition. If one order type, if the order type is whatever I require, I will go one direction. If the order type is other, I will go in the other direction. Okay. And also instead of this mail, what I will do is just I will notify the responsible person that this order got created by using a send mail. Okay. So this is the thing I will do now. Okay. Okay. Now go back to business object. Okay, go to change mode, go to methods, and go to, I want to create a method, so select and go to create template, create with the function module template. No, so method name is get underscore get order details. This is my method. Details. Okay, so I told, see, for this there is no action required from the user. Once the workflow got started, this task needs to be completed automatically and it should go to the next step, because to get the order details no need of the user interaction. So the code written in the method will be executed and it will return the method. So here it should not be a dialog work item. Okay, so I am removing this dialog work item, so it will treat this method as a background method, and also when we use this into a task, it will take it as a background task. Okay, we'll see this further and click OK. Okay, so again select change release status of the object type component to implemented, select edit object type component to released. Okay, so for this get order details, I need an order number, right? So again go to parameters, dictionary proposal, yes, VBAK. I want an import parameter, two parameters I want to create. One is VBLN and I want to return order type AUART, sales document type. Select. So the sales document is, for me it's a import. Okay, but I'm returning sales document type, so this should be export from the method. Okay, create. Okay, sales document is import and document type is export. Saved it. Okay, save it. So now I want to write the code inside this one. Go to program. So it is saying it's not yet implemented. Do you want to create with the missing function? Yes. So it will create. See here, whenever I define with my parameters and when I ask to create with the template, it is already given some code. It is defined some variables with the given parameters, and based on my import and export, it wrote two macros, get and set. Now where I have to write code, from this place I need to click enter. The first step is get the sales document number, the import parameter from the container, and now I need to pass sales document type. For this what I need to do? Document is not okay. select single AUART from VBAK into sales document type, where VBLN equal to so what I did, I retrieved the import parameters into sales document. Based on this sales document, I write a select statement to VBAK. Okay. And where I fetched document type, sales document type, and I retrieve the sales document type to sales document type. So here I am setting this to my export parameter of sales document type, this one. So I've done with my display of I've done logic for get order details. Now what I have to do, I need to create a background task. So again go to EFTC, and here I need to create again a standard task. Go to, so sorry, I need to create, so create a new one. So here I'm giving abbreviation as JWF underscore order get. So work item text, anyhow we are not sending this to anyone, so we'll give normal text. Get order details. Okay. So now here we are going to map this to get order details. See, transfer missing elements from the object method. If I click save, okay, object method with dialog is not selected and the background processing is there. So select the background processing. So it will act as a background processing, okay, and it will be processed automatically by the workflow. Okay. So now again we need to create a container element. Okay. Also look at here the import parameter and export parameter which we have defined here are already created. When I say import missing section to continue, now if I click yes, it will generate the, if you create before assigning the method, it will not generate this one. If you don't give, based on your import and export parameters defined here, it will generate the parameters. Okay. So now I need to do the binding, right? If you look at binding, it's also, so now what is this one? This is my task container and this is my method container. See, for the method it's a import and document type is a export parameter. If you place the cursor, it will show it. Export parameter, and this is import parameter. So now I need to pass sales document from my task to method. I need to pass, right? Then document type should be written from method to task. Okay, I'm taking the sales document number and I am returning sales document type. Click OK. And we have done the binding. Elements got created and we mapped business object method also, and it is a background processing. Select, save it. Now we have done two parts. We have defined the required get order methods in business object and the respective standard task we have created. So now we have to go to workflow template and we have to define the steps as per our new requirement. Now go to workflow template. I think this one only. Okay. Go to change. So here we no need to do anything, but we have to do one case. What we have to do? We need to get the document type from task to our workflow. So I need to create a container element for document type. What is the difference? VBAK, AU, ART. So it's only an import parameter. Sorry, it's a import parameter. Mostly when you are defining any container elements, generally you take both. Why? Because sometimes we need to pass later for case. So better to take both. But in our case only we are importing from the task. So I just selected import. Okay. And also if you see here, there is an checkbox called multi-line. This is used for defining an internal tables. Okay. So here if you define a structure and if you select multi-line, it will act as an internal table. If you don't select multi-line and if you define only the dictionary type, it will act as a structure. Okay, and select OK. Okay, so now I have two container elements. One container element is coming from business object to workflow. By using this sales document, I am going to call a background task. I'm going to call a background task here, and I'm getting the order type to the workflow. Now I'm going to delete this one. So right click, delete. Delete the step, yes. Activate. So now I'm going to create an activity. Let me see whether it is created in correct place or not. So just to see the position, okay. So this task I am going to, instead of display sales order, first task is my background task. So give the task name. So what is I have to do? Select the which method, first get the order details. Okay, so I have the method. look at here. So the container also I don't want to map. I want to map, so cancel it. Look at here. Once I given a task which is of method background processing, here also task properties it is changed to background processing. Okay, so that means this task is a background task. And also the binding, what we have to do, we have to bind sales document. We need to pass from workflow to task. Okay, now document type we are passing to okay. So from task again I am moving back the document type to the workflow container. Select OK. So I have done the binding part and it's a background task, and here no need of the agents, right? Because for background task we are not sending to anyone to give the agents. Okay, so that's why this portion is now disabled. Okay, so this will be enabled only for the dialog task, dialog work items only. We need these agents, but for background processing system will be executed automatically. Okay, click OK and execute. So now we have the document type. After executing this step, we have the document type. Next, what we need to do, based on the document type, I want to go in two different directions. If my order type is one case, I want to send work item to the initiator. For the rest of the document types, I want to send it to the different user. Okay. So first we need to know the order type. One second. What are the order types available in the order? Let me check. This is 16. Okay. Okay, let me see any custom. Okay, JTA is there any orders? Okay, we have JTA based 8 orders. So for these JTA order types, I want to send to the initiator. Okay, so we need to hard code this JTA. So go to workflow builder. So now I want to use a condition. Okay, so here if you see multiple condition and if condition, this is an if condition type, and this multiple condition is like a case statement. I will show you. Okay, right click, create. So I am taking a if condition. Okay, so the step name you can write like order type check. Okay, step not in workflow log. If you select this one, the step logic will not show in the workflow log. Okay, but I want to show it in, so keep it. Okay, so here condition, what is the condition we want to give. Okay, click here to create a new condition. So click this one. Okay. So the first statement is what we need to select the what is the if condition. If my sales document type equal to ZTA, ZAT, I think ZTA. Okay, so the sales document type, see here expression 1, first it came the sales document type. Okay, what is the constant we want to give? Equal to, right? Select this one, equal to. Okay, so next in the expression 2 what I want to keep? Equal to ZTA. Okay, is it clear? First I am giving my document type equal to ZTA. This is the condition. Okay, only we gave the condition through this one. So here my variable sales document type, if it is equal to ZTA, okay, so that condition came. So the container element equal to ZTA. Here we have outcomes. I told you, right, outcomes we saw in the task, right? So similarly we have here, as in it is a condition, here we have two outcomes as it is an if statement. If it is true, one direction, else false in another direction. So if my thing is ZTA, true, outcome name is, we can write go to initiator. Okay, or notify initiator. If it is false, notify responsible. Okay, so if it is ZTA, I am sending to the initiator, else notify to responsible. It's only a description I am giving just to see in the workflow log. What I have to write again actual logic to notify initiator and to notify responsible. Okay, and now when I click OK, see here it is checking the condition here. Notify initiator one side, notify responsible another. Notify initiator, I am going to create a send mail action. Okay, okay, so here who is the recipient? Workflow initiator. Some cases if you want to send to external email address, that also we can do. Okay, so but now in our case I want to send to the normal SAP user. Okay, or if you select workflow initiator also it will generate the same. Okay, if you select workflow initiator also again it will come same, because here the expression is initiator. Okay, subject you can give order and sales order number with document type okay. Let me see whether it will copy here. It's not copying here. Might be we have it the down. Yeah. See, if you want to inform that guy with all the full information in the order get details, we need to define as many parameters we want for the information or the structure. We have the structure, right? We can define that structure and get all the order details. And if you want to send in the mail notification all the information, that also you can do like this, how I am showing. Okay. This is the subject, the top one, and this is the body content. It's order created successfully with time, and again document type. Okay, see here we have to give a task here to send a mail. Okay, so for this already there are standard tasks available for sending the mail. So what this task will do now, whatever we are defining here will be sent as a mail by using the task which are going to assign here. Okay, so these are the predefined tasks. This we have to provide here. Okay, so let me check the standard tasks which are available. Okay, see, this is the self item. So this is the business object already defined for sending these mails. So you can take anything. So we will take the basic one by seeing the description. Okay, so send mail. Okay, I'm selecting this one. Okay, so select OK. Binding content. So you have to trigger the binding, and here you take the, see here it is moving the initiator because this part is taking from our first step binding. Okay, so this is the things which it needs to take care. These are defined in the task level. These are already defined in the standard. So whatever we are defining in the first tab, that is passed to the address string here. So you take as it is and click OK. See here, whatever we are defining here, this is going as a, oh, I think here the content got changed. Okay, so first you give the task and then give the mail subject. 1 second. Again I'll change. Because we selected predefined binding and all, right, so it got changed. Sales order. I think it is taking the same content. I think I need to check the actual task which is available to send the mail. Okay, so now I'll use the same thing and let me try, because now what happened now, whatever the subject I have defined here, I think they already took the access key, so it is changed in the standard task. Okay, okay, it's not changed, but what we have to do now, we have to define a separate method in our task also, like how it is defined here. Just we have to take this self item and standard description. See, standard task description. with this we have to create our own, what we can say, our own task, and that we can use it in our here also. Okay, but I took the standard one, but you can define your own task and you can use the same thing. Okay, anyhow, it is taking our content also. Click OK. But you keep remember this statement, only one thing: to send a mail we need to have a task with this business object and method, self item, and send task description. Okay, so there should be a task with this, and that you need to use for sending the mails. Mails, create a task using following business object method. Okay, so we need to remember this self item and send task description. With these two I need to create a standard task, and that I need to use in my mail step. Okay, so this part is over. Okay, again when it came to binding, I think it will change the text. Okay, not done. Okay, so here workflow initiator to address string. Okay, this is enough. See, binding contains errors means what happened now? By default it is mapped to our workflow container variables, see, to this name, but we have not defined these variables at all here, right? So that's why it is giving. So delete, change the attribute. All these are not defined. So when we say by default, I think this is your mandatory parameters in sendmail. So it is taking with the same name and it's creating the binding and giving the error. So delete the unwanted binding elements. But I think these are the defined mandatory in the standard task. That's why it is giving. Let me check now. Sales document. Oh, I think these are the mandatory. If we go to, so we cannot use this standard task, so we have to define our own standard task. Okay, let me check here, container elements. Suppose here multi-line. Because it is not allowing and it is taking all these parameters from the task, as because we are using this task and these parameters are defined. So the binding by default it is taking this one. So instead of using this standard one, so we will define only one task and you can use the same thing in all, because there should be one standard, or else we need to check the one with empty text, empty parameters with the send mail option only. Okay, so that also should be there, otherwise I need to check the task. Else we can create our own task with that method also. Let me check. Here also it is there. It is something defined only for some specific portfolios and all. No, I don't want to save. What I will do is, in the one step, I will take the standard task which is available, and in the second place we'll create our own task to send a mail by using the given standard methods, standard business object method. Okay, two things we will take, and both we will use in the both the places, and we will test the work. Define our custom standard task for sending a mail, so that also will create one new one, and both we will use the same application, and we'll see the log how